So as we have seen, the role of Kiranas is changing these days. Digitalization has changed the way we used to look at Kiranas. Once considered as almost dead, during the COVID times, they have regained the importance and the modernization and digitalization is happening in the Kirana industry. So how do you see the evolving roles of Kirana in these days?
So first of all, I'd like to correct you by saying that Kiranas were never dead. Even before the pandemic, their share of total food and grocery space in India was about 86%. And in the rural areas, it was probably higher than 90%. And if you look at the data, the Nielsen data, the share of Kiranas has actually grown post-COVID. And right now, their share is probably around 87.5% to 88%. And there are several reasons why Kiranas have done well during the pandemic period. And we also believe will continue to do well in the future. First of all, I think it's the spirit of entrepreneurship of these small shopkeepers that we refer to as Kiranas. They are, every company is talking about supply chain cost optimization and running their operations more efficiently. I will say nothing is more efficient than Kiranas in terms of running stores. The cost of running a Kirana is one of the lowest in the whole industry. Nobody comes even close. That's why even the big companies are now looking at Kiranas for last mile delivery because they cannot compete with them in terms of last mile delivery costs. So that's one thing that I want to highlight, that we use a term in our industry called EDLC, everyday low cost. And if there are any champions of EDLC, it's the Kiranas. Now coming to the second part, why they have been so successful. One of the reasons is they carry the local regional assortment, which is sometimes not available on the e-commerce platforms or even in your neighborhood stores. There are a lot of companies which take a lot of pride right now and burning a lot of cash in the process in terms of instant delivery, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, but they're burning loads of cash. Kiranas anyway are able to deliver to you within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, based on their proximity from your house. They anyway cater to 300, 400 households in the neighborhood. So they do a very good job of servicing their customers. They have the local assortment. One area where they were weak is that in the past they were selling at MRP. And we have worked with lots of Kiranas, more than 1 million Kiranas in the cities where we operate. And we have told them that the days of selling at MRP are over. So if you have to survive with all the large brick and mortar chains, the e-commerce players, you have to start selling below MRP and have to be competitive on pricing. Because there's one thing I have learned over the last 30 plus years across sectors is that Indian customers are extremely price sensitive. So if you're not competitive on pricing, even though you may have great delivery, you may have a great offering, people will look at cheaper options. They're always looking at opportunities to save money. So a combination of best in last mile delivery, relevant local assortment, plus now competitive on pricing. And of course, they have also been very agile in terms of adopting digital modes of payment. So now customers can go at Kirana shop and pay by UPI, wallets, credit card, debit card. They do all that, even WhatsApp. So that's one of the reasons why they have thrived, because they have been very, very responsive to all the changes around them.
So digitalization and modernization has actually helped, consumers like me also who started using e-commerce more, think about going to a local shop and buying the groceries these days and about other stuff as well. So I would like to know what are the challenges that still persist and how technology can help to solve those issues on both demand and supply side.
So first, let me talk about supply side. So if you look at a Kirana, they carry food and grocery products and some general merchandise articles like stationery, plastic, buckets, mops, brooms, etc., etc. Maybe some hardy produce like coconut, onions, garlic, etc., which have a long shelf life or relatively long shelf life. Now to source all these products, they probably have to deal with 100 plus suppliers. All the FMCG companies, you name them from the big ones to the local regional players, are probably 50 plus FMCG companies that they have to deal with. Then for commodities, there's not a single source for all the staples. For rice, you may go to one wholesaler or one distributor. For pulses, you may go to somebody else. And again, there is no transparency in the wholesale markets for those who are familiar with the Indian wholesale markets. Then there is also no assurance on quality. For general merchandise, again, you have to deal with multiple suppliers. So on an average, a Kirana has to put up with 100 plus suppliers. Now in the era before GST, probably when they were having some savings on taxes, they probably would make that effort. But now in the GST era where you also have to file your returns, it's probably better to deal with one source. So one of the advantages that many of us have been able to offer is being a one-stop shop. But that's not good enough. So that's one of the core issues which Kiranas face, and they tell us is one of the reasons why they come to us or some of our competitors, that you get everything under one roof, right? One invoice, you get all the products. The second is, as I said, pricing. So if their customers demand great value, the Kiranas are also looking for the best deal. Unlike B2C, where if a customer goes into a DMart, let's say, and you will end up shopping everything which is available, you're not going to compare prices for all the 20 articles in your basket and say 18 articles are cheaper here, I'll buy from here, and 2 articles I'll buy somewhere else. Kiranas, on the other hand, when they buy from you, they're looking at price of every article. So if you're cheaper on 10 out of 20, they only buy 10 from you. 10 they will buy from the distributor or wholesaler or, or competitors, etc. So you have to be very competitive on pricing. So whoever is able to fulfill this desire of being a one-stop shop, competitive pricing, and third, of course, is delivery. They can't come and buy from the stores a lot of times. So you have to deliver it to them. Because of competition now, people used to charge for delivery. The distributors have never charged for delivery, so free delivery has become the norm. And they are also very smart because they have 4 or 5 apps open on their smartphone. They're comparing prices of every single article every single day, right? Every single hour. And whoever is offering the best deal, they'll place an order on that app. So, you have to be on your feet, very agile to cater to them. So these are the issues on the supply side. In the past, they would call up people and check the price. Now they have absolute price transparency thanks to the digital era, and they take full advantage of it. On the demand side, their issue has been that, a modern retail store has opened. My sales are down by 25, 30%. How do I deal with that competition, right? Or e-commerce is offering something at predatory pricing, sometimes selling below cost. It's not viable for a Kirana to, make losses even for 1 month, because the entire family survives upon the income from that one neighborhood Kirana store. So they cannot lose money. They cannot be EBITDA negative. There are a lot of chains which are running at 20% negative EBITDA and so on. So that is not possible for a Kirana. Yet they have to be competitive on pricing. So how do you do that? That was a big dilemma. And, we have been educating them that they have to, first of all, keep their assortment relevant and up to date. So in many places, people are now eating healthier. They buy organic products. So you tell them that you need to keep organic range of staples, which was probably missing. The second thing is, frozen is a big category. We have seen an explosion in frozen, not just frozen peas, etc., but, snacks, both vegetarian and the chicken and the mutton snacks, ice creams during winter. So, you tell them you keep a freezer, and your sales can go up by 10% if you do that. It's also a differentiator, because a lot of customers were going to modern retail and not coming to Kirana because the frozen assortment was missing. The third thing that you do is you teach them the science of retail. They're innate entrepreneurs, but if you bring the science of retail, how do you do a proper store layout? What should be the departmental adjacencies, right? What products should be kept at eye level? The science of pricing. Some articles can be your loss leaders to drive traffic, like what the e-commerce companies do. You bring all that science to them. They have the art of retail. They know the art of retail. You bring the science. It's a very potent combination. So these are the challenges that we have done. Then, of course, we give them a point of sale device, so they can do all the billing, which is GST compliant. There was a problem 3-4 years with that because they wanted to underreport sales, but now it's very difficult to underreport and get away with it, right? So they do GST compliant invoices. You give them a point of sale system, and then if they capture the customer information, basics like phone numbers, email IDs, you can do basic customer analytics, which they can be taught. Suppose there is a woman in the neighborhood who's buying diapers but not baby food. It's an opportunity for a cross promotion. You tell them that, the sales improve, right? You can sell more to the same customer. There are also a lot of, innovative startups which are offering not just credit to Kirana, but also to Kirana's customers. So that also solves the problem where, they would collect their dues at the end of the month and maintain a monthly accounting system with every loyal customer. So the cost of that credit is being borne by somebody else now. You can do a makeover and convert them into open format stores We have done that with maybe more than 2,000 stores right now. We call them smart Kiranas, modernized, digitalized, and the sales go up by 50, 60%, despite all the competition from e-commerce and modern retail players. So if you offer a holistic solution catering to their supply chain issues and the demand issues, I think it's a win-win.
True that. So one important aspect of retail is customer delight. How can Kiranas actually analyze the consumer behavior and offer customer delight to consumers?
So I will say the biggest disappointment is if you come to a store or you go online and you find that out of 20 articles you want to purchase, 5 are missing. You know how many times you have gone to an e-commerce site and they say this is out of stock, or this is out of stock, or you go to a physical store, an item is not available. You are not going to go to another place. It's very frustrating to go to another shop to complete the entire purchase. So first thing is what we call availability. That's very critical. Now there's another area of improvement which we saw with Kiranas, because a lot of the large FMCG companies dump the entire assortment that they have. Even the largest FMCG company in the country maybe has 1,000 SKUs. They'll try to put all the SKUs in a small Kirana shop. A Kirana will have probably 700, 800 SKUs. So if they keep 1,000 of Unilever, where is the space for the other products? So you have to also tell them that you need to analyze rate of sale of each and every SKU, pick and choose the top selling articles, don't block your precious working capital in slow moving merchandise. So we teach all that to them, because once you can digitalize your entire operations, including the inventory, right? You know how much is selling, how much is your opening stock, closing stock, rate of sale. You teach them that, they can buy more efficiently. You don't have to, buy everything which a company tells you to buy, right? So if you do that and you keep the relevant SKUs, then we also make them aware of the emerging trends. As I was telling you earlier about frozen, right? Or organics. You tell them that these are the things that you need to keep. During COVID, there was a big demand for a lot of other categories. So you tell them that, you need to start stocking this. Nobody else was able to do that. Our objective has been to be the Bain or McKinsey equivalent for them, offering them free consultancy on what to do to run a better operation. And we believe if they are successful, success being defined as more sales, more profits, better cash flows, like for any good business, our business with them will also improve. But if you are just focused on selling in more to Kiranas and not focused on their sellout and how much profits they make, it's not going to be win-win. So that's what we do.
So, but Mr. Mediratta, we have seen not all the Kiranas in the country have been digitalized till now. So what can we do to give that tech push to all the Kiranas and actually motivate all the Kiranas to join the tech bandwagon and improve their visibility and sales?
See, as part of national retail policy, which is still unfortunately at draft stage, we have been telling the government that they need to offer easy credit to these Kirana stores. There is a Mudra scheme by the government of India, but if you look at the paperwork and documentation required to avail of a loan, it's pretty cumbersome. So if that whole process of extending loans can be given, some incentives for digitalization, there are a lot of incentives for startups. Why not for Kiranas? Because according to me, after agriculture, the second biggest source of livelihood is people having their own business. It's not everybody is getting into the tech sector or capable of doing a startup. So what do most people do? They open up a shop in the neighborhoods, and food and grocery shop or a restaurant is the easiest thing to do. Now, if you bring the science of retail, help them modernize, digitalize, the government offers some incentives, I think it will be good for everybody. Because the answer is not to replace traditional retail with 100% modern retail or e-commerce. Because then what will happen to these millions of Kirana shopkeepers and other families who are dependent upon them? It will lead to massive unemployment. The idea is to modernize this and give them some incentives for modernization. I think on the other side, what the government also has done is GST, compliance has become easier for them. There is a composition scheme. If your turnover is below a certain threshold, you pay whatever X percentage of revenue and you get away with it. So I think the amount or threshold can be increased. There should be some incentives for modernization and digitalization, right? There should also be a skills academy. Like as a company, we can do only so much, but there are millions of these stores. So under the skill development program, if there could be a program for even these entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, to upgrade their skill sets, to make them comfortable with technology, basic art of supply chain management, inventory management, etc. right? I think it can go a long way in strengthening this sector. So idea is everybody should coexist. It's not like somebody gains share at the expense of others. And by doing predatory pricing, because you have very deep pockets.
So my last question to you, sir, that how can tech actually help build Kiranas going ahead, a very strong part of the retail ecosystem?
As I said, analytics are important in any business. So if again, they can use tech, first of all, for supply chain. So buying on an app versus, placing an order on the phone. And then you key in every single item that you buy. So you have online information about your inventory like any other modern retail operation or e-commerce player. And then you also do GST compliant billing. You start getting customer information. So that's the role of technology from buying to selling. You can do analytics to improve your sales, improve what we call share of wallet among customer segments. So this will enable them to run a more efficient operation. They will, as I said, inventory management is a big issue because a lot of them carry dead inventory. And then it expires, and then they have to go back and plead with the distributor to take it back. So all these things can be solved with the advantage of with leveraging technology.
So we can say Kiranas have a bright future going ahead.
I certainly think so. But of course, they have to be adaptable to change. I am remembering one very famous quote from Charles Darwin, which I use a lot. It says, it's not the strongest of the species that will survive, but the ones most adaptable to change. So same is true for any organization and same is true for the Kiranas or for any customer segment, I'll say, for us.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful
Thank you.